Wow, a stone cold stunner here as the Miami Heat trade Haywood Highsmith to the Brooklyn Nets. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. I'm just a little bit stunned by this move, and we'll start by breaking down the trade details. As Highsmith is sent to Brooklyn, the Heat also attach a 2032 unprotected second-round pick, and in return, all they receive is a protected 2026 second-round pick from the Nets. Now, there are a lot of moving parts on why Miami ultimately made this trade. Now, we just go back 1 week ago, and it was announced that Haywood Highsmith is having knee surgery and will be out 8 to 10 weeks, but the expectation is that he will be available for the start of the regular season. But we have talked on and on and on about how Miami has been desperately trying to get underneath the luxury tax so they can no longer be penalized in that repeater's tax threshold. They were $1.4 million over the tax. They needed to get under that by the end of April, so they were not in that. And guess what? Highsmith's number for this year was 5.6. They take no salary in return. The Brooklyn Nets are one of the rare teams that had cap space still available to them in this point in the offseason. So Miami now basically is $4 million underneath the luxury tax, which puts them in a pretty advantageous spot. And now they also have 13 roster spots, which gives them the ability to potentially sign a backup big, which is something we have talked about very much at the channel. This is why you subscribe, because we will break down any Heat news that comes in, especially when it's a big time trade. And that's kind of where I want to go with this, is that I've floated out ideas in the past of a potential Haywood Highsmith trade because I just didn't see the point of keeping him on this roster. I love Haywood Highsmith. He's been one of the better success stories for the Miami Heat. He's been one of the best perimeter defenders on this basketball team ever since he got a standard contract with Miami in 2022. And then after that 2022 season and good 23-24 year, he hit free agency. Miami didn't give him a contract right away. They let him test the open market. There was interest from other teams like the Phoenix Suns, but he ultimately returned to Miami on a 2-year, $11 million contract. And then as this year comes up, it was an expiring deal. And I said all offseason long, I would not be shocked if Highsmith is ultimately added as a sweetener in a trade or just traded outright, because when you move this Heat roster into the direction that they have been going, aka a youth movement, you want to see more playing time for a Jaime Jaquez Jr. You want to see Paul Larson get opportunities. Heck, you even want to see Kashad Johnson get some more playing time. Well, you weren't going to let those young guys develop and get serious rotation minutes if you were playing Haywood Highsmith at a pretty consistent rate. And is Haywood better than the three players that I just mentioned? Oh, absolutely he is. And he's been one of the best teammates and connective pieces on this roster coming off the bench as this 7th, 8th man. But there was no sense to keep him on this team. And I often floated out the idea of calling up the Phoenix Suns and trading Haywood Highsmith for Nic Richards, because Nic Richards is their third center behind Kaman Malawach and Mark Williams. Both players make about $5 million. Highsmith 5.6, Richards 5 exactly. And the Suns have been a team that targeted Highsmith in free agency in the past. Now, that ultimately doesn't come to fruition. A trade happens here with the Brooklyn Nets. So it's basically a salary dump. And Miami picks up a second rounder this year, obviously. It's protected. I haven't seen the protections on the pick to this point yet, but it's clear that the salary bill was the main reason. Now, here actually is, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Live reaction to the protection. It says the Nets send Miami a 2026 second rounder that is protected from 31 to 55. You know what that means? It means they ain't getting that pick, fellas. That is absolutely ridiculous. That's the entire second round. So the Heat basically just traded a second round pick to get rid of Haywood Highsmith. That is bad asset management. And you're seeing me react here live while we're making this video, because I think Highsmith had legit value. Yes, it makes a lot of sense for Miami, to get under the luxury tax and save themselves money, as well as open up a roster spot to potentially sign a backup center, which is a desperate need. We'll talk about some centers that I think they could sign here in just 1 second. But why would they attach? You could get multiple seconds from a contending team for Highsmith at the deadline. So just don't know if this is the smartest idea. Barry Jackson's tweeting out, this was, in my view, the first example this decade of the Heat clearly worsening its roster for financial reasons. I was fine with the trade originally because it opens up roster spots for Miami and gives a pathway for young guys to play, like Pallel Larson, like a Jaquez Jr., and maybe even a Kasparas Yakachonis. But the fact that you're basically trading a 2032 second-round pick to get underneath the luxury tax, that's bad asset management. It just is. And this has been a common theme for this organization the past decade. They do not value second-round picks, which is a mistake because you see a bunch of trades go down where teams are sending 3, 4, 5 second-round picks to get high-quality rotation players. Miami continues to just empty the tank of their second-round picks. They have basically none to trade if they wanted to pick up a cheap, solid rotation player. This is just the issue that this organization, Pat Riley, this is the error in their ways. I do not try to claim that I am smarter than them because they have built multiple contending championship rosters and actual championship winning rosters. But they have not changed their line of thinking. They have not gotten with the times. Were second-round picks valuable a decade ago? No, probably not. But in this day and age with the new CBA, they are incredibly valuable. And Miami just continues to use these picks to offload contracts rather than use them to upgrade its roster. Think about what they've done at the deadline. They traded a second-round pick to get rid of Dennis Schroeder in that 3-team deal in the Jimmy Butler trade, and it'll be a 5-team deal. Then they trade PJ Tucker in a second to get Davion Mitchell. Yes, that's a good deal. But we've just seen time and time and time where they have got rid of second-round picks just to get rid of salary. That is not the way that you need to build this roster. Like, losing this draft capital is huge, and I absolutely hate it. And coming up in just 1 second, we're going to take a look at what I think is coming next for Miami because this is a clear indication that another move is coming. But first, let me know your thoughts on the trade. One-word reaction to the Haywood Highsmith trade. And as we get to the second part of the video, as I mentioned, with this deal, Miami not taking any salary back, they now sit approximately $4 million underneath the luxury tax line, so they can sign a player to a vet-min contract and stay under that threshold, which is something Miami clearly doesn't want to be in this year. And when you look at the roster, it's obvious that they need a backup center. This front court is so depleted. It's Bam Adebayo, it's Kel'el Ware. That's it. Because Nikola Jovic, I love him to death, but he's at best a stretch 4. So who's the backup center? Are you just going to rotate Bam and Ware in? What if then picks up an injury and is out for 2 weeks? You have no center and no depth. So I always thought Miami was going to try to add a front court piece, whether it was via a trade or whether it was a signing, but they didn't want to go further into the luxury tax. So now that they got out of the tax by getting rid of Highsmith, well, they're probably going to go out and sign a big man sooner rather than later. Now, we know they worked out Kai Jones this week, who was pretty good for the Mavericks down the stretch in the final 12 games of the season. In 21 minutes a night, Kai Jones averaged 11.5 points and 6.6 rebounds. Like, that is a intriguing guy, former first-round pick in the 2021 draft, 19th overall. He's had a lot of up and downs, but if Miami feels confident in his headspace, it's an interesting flyer to take. There's also a potential reunion out there. I have been singing his name for a while now. Precious Achiuwa. I would be absolutely all in on bringing him back, the former first-round pick of Miami from the 2020 draft. Has he been the most efficient, productive player that teams trust in big-time games? No, he was not in the playoff rotation for New York a year ago. But during the regular season, I would be fine with him as the third big. Yeah, he's got a lot of deficiencies, but I would say he always plays hard, and I think he would be intrigued and motivated to potentially return to Miami and finally become a good rotational player for the organization that drafted him out of Memphis in 2020. So Precious Achiuwa is clearly a player that I am all in on. I'm unsure if that is something Miami would be going after, but we know the Heat probably view a backup big as the next move to come, especially since they can make a signing and stay underneath the luxury tax. Now, I will throw one more name out there for you. That's not a big man. It's actually Drew Smith. And I know it's going to get some chuckles out of you guys if you're still watching this video, but he is ineligible to be signed to a two-way deal because he signed 3 different two-way contracts with the Heat with 3 different CBA eras, so he's no longer eligible to sign a two-way with Miami. I would love to bring Drew Smith back, but the problem is I don't think I would rather sign him back rather than bring in a big man, because that is the number one need on this roster currently. But that's probably going to do it for this show. I really got thrown for a curveball there. I'm just going to be completely honest. When I saw that protections was basically the entire second round, that's just an absolute ridiculous thing. I can't believe they traded a second-round pick to get rid of Haywood. I legitimately, maybe I just overvalued him, but with him being a cheap expiring contract and being a pretty good 3-and-D player, I mean, this is a 40% three-point shooter and one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. And you have to trade a pick to get rid of him? That just feels bad, man. I think you could have waited to the deadline and made that move to a contender that would have been needing his services off the bench, and you could have got 2 second-round picks. Once again, I'll continue to say it. It's bad asset management. But either way, Miami got underneath the luxury tax. That's obviously the goal in this deal, and they're probably going to sign someone soon. So subscribe, follow me on Twitter, because when the Heat make another move, we will have you covered, and I'll see you on the next video. Go Heat.